Let me tell you something curious about comfort in the modern world. We live in a culture that celebrates adventure. Travel photos, concert tickets, weekend getaways, spontaneous road trips, nights out dressed to impress. The world tells us that living fully means going out constantly. Yet some people find their deepest joy in the opposite direction. They choose their couch over the club, their books over bars, their kitchen over crowded restaurants. You might know someone like that. Maybe you are someone like that. And here's the question that always surfaces in conversations. Why? Why would someone prefer the familiar walls of home when the whole world is waiting outside? It's tempting to think that people who love staying home are simply lazy or antisocial. But that's nowhere near the truth. Beneath the surface, there's a rich psychology at work. One that reveals something profound about human nature, about energy, about where we find meaning, and about the quiet rebellion against a culture obsessed with constant motion. See, for some people, home is not a cage. It's a sanctuary. It's the one place where the performance stops and life begins. Because whether we admit it or not, the outside world demands so much from us. It requires us to be on, to smile, to engage, to keep up appearances. And yet, those who find peace at home aren't running from life. They're protecting their energy. They understand that not all batteries recharge the same way. Some people refuel through noise and crowds. Others need silence and solitude. And neither is wrong. Psychologists have discovered something remarkable. People who prefer staying home often score higher on traits like self-sufficiency, creativity, and emotional regulation. They tend to need less external stimulation to feel fulfilled. In other words, they're not missing out. They're tuning in to themselves, to their thoughts, to the kind of peace that doesn't come with a reservation. And in a world that's always rushing somewhere, that's powerful. Because let's be honest, most of what we call living is really just moving. We go places not because we want to, but because we feel we should. Every invitation carries invisible pressure. Everyone's going to be there. You have to come. But when you love being home, something shifts. You stop measuring your life by how many places you've been. You start measuring it by how deeply you've lived. And that's the secret psychology behind many people who stay home. They value quality over quantity. They don't hate adventure. They just can't find rest in constant motion anymore. It's not about being boring or afraid of life. It's about refusing to believe that your worth is measured by your social calendar. Because when you've felt the exhaustion of keeping up, you start valuing what can't be Instagrammed. Stillness, depth. A Sunday morning with nowhere to be. For some, the love of home comes after years of overdoing it. Maybe they once said yes to everything until one day it stopped feeling good. They realized that every time they went out, they needed 3 days to recover. They weren't enjoying themselves anymore. They were depleting themselves. So they stopped quietly. No dramatic announcement, just a gentle return to what felt right. But here's what people misunderstand. Loving home doesn't mean hating people. It doesn't mean you're broken or damaged. It often means you understand your limits, your needs, your non-negotiables. There's a concept in psychology called introversion, but it goes deeper than that. It's about sensory processing, sensitivity. Some people's nervous systems are wired to absorb more from their environment. Sounds feel louder, crowds feel heavier, small talk feels draining. So staying home isn't avoidance, it's self-care. It's honoring the truth that their peace matters more than other people's expectations. And maybe that's not weakness, maybe it's wisdom. Because think about it. When was the last time you stayed home and regretted it? When was the last time you canceled plans and felt relief flood your entire body? That feeling, that exhale, is not laziness. It's your body telling you the truth. That sometimes the best place to be is exactly where you are. That reflex to go out, that pressure to always be available, is not natural. It's conditioned. It's the product of a culture that profits from your restlessness, from your fear of missing out, from convincing you that home equals boredom. And when someone resists that narrative, it can look strange to others. But it's also liberation. They start rediscovering the richness of their own space, cooking a slow meal without rushing, reading for hours without guilt, watching the rain without needing plans. In that space, something awakens, a kind of contentment that doesn't need validation. But not everyone who stays home is doing it from a place of peace. Some are driven by anxiety, the fear of judgment, of social failure, of not fitting in. The outside world has become unpredictable, overwhelming, even threatening. And for many, home becomes a shield. Psychologists call this social withdrawal, and it's different from preference. It's protection. They want to connect, but the cost of being out there feels unbearable. So they retreat, not because they love home, but because everywhere else feels unsafe. They want to be invited, but they're also terrified of accepting. And ironically, some of the loneliest people are the ones who never leave home. They're not content. They're stuck. They watch life happen through windows and screens, aching to participate but paralyzed by fear. There's a delicate line between choosing home and hiding in it. In a world that constantly says, go, do, see, be. Choosing to stay becomes an act of defiance. It's saying, I don't need to prove my aliveness through activity. They might scroll through others' adventures, smiling, sometimes envious, but they rarely feel compelled to compete because they understand something most don't. Not every moment needs to be monumental. Sometimes the most nourishing experiences are ordinary. A quiet morning, a good conversation, a homemade dinner, and when you've lived through enough overstimulating weekends, you start realizing that staying in is not the same as missing out. It's actually where restoration happens, where you remember who you are when nobody's watching. This is where the paradox lives. We were told that life happens out there, yet some of the most transformative moments happen within these four walls. When you stay home, you stop performing and start processing. You reflect on who you're becoming. You notice patterns in your thoughts. You create things nobody asked you to create. That kind of space, unscheduled, unpressured, feels revolutionary in a world addicted to busyness. And the people who love staying home, they live in that space. They build routines that don't need applause. They find joy in the unremarkable, and they let life unfold without needing it to be eventful. Part of this is also about energy sovereignty, knowing what drains you and protecting yourself from it. When you're secure in your preferences, you don't need others to understand why you'd rather stay in. That's not selfishness, it's clarity. And the same people who love staying home often have the deepest inner lives. Rich imaginations, complex thoughts, meaningful hobbies, but they don't broadcast them. Because real fulfillment to them isn't measured in likes or weekend stories. It's in how you feel when you wake up, and whether your life feels aligned with your truth. These are the people who've learned that rest is productive, that solitude is nourishing, that home is not a fallback, it's a foundation. They don't need the world to validate their choices. They just need to honor them. And maybe, just maybe, in a world so desperate to escape, their stillness isn't boring. It's grounding, a reminder that not every life needs to be loud, that sometimes the most fulfilling thing you can do is simply be where you feel most yourself. You know what's interesting? The longer someone embraces their love of home, the more they begin to see themselves clearly. Thoughts sharpen, creativity flows, energy returns. It's as if stepping away from the constant demand to be somewhere makes being anywhere feel intentional again. Because when you stop forcing yourself to fit into spaces that drain you, you start thriving in the one that restores you. There's a quiet power in building a life that doesn't require constant proof of productivity. You're not chasing experiences for the sake of having them. You're just there, fully settled, inside your own rhythm instead of someone else's. And that's something modern culture rarely teaches us anymore. But the psychology behind this goes deeper than personality or preference. It's rooted in how our nervous systems function. Some people have what psychologists call a high reactive temperament. Their brains process stimuli more intensely. Loud environments feel chaotic. Busy schedules feel suffocating. Socializing, even when enjoyable, leaves them drained for days. Now, imagine someone who honors that wiring. Someone who deliberately creates a life that respects their energy limits. That's not weakness, that's intelligence. It takes self-knowledge to build a life around what actually sustains you instead of what's expected. People who love staying home often have a strong sense of internal fulfillment, a psychological term meaning they don't rely on external circumstances to feel whole. They don't need Friday night plans to feel alive. And here's what's even more profound. Studies show that people who spend intentional time in solitude often experience greater emotional resilience and creative output. Because when you're not constantly consuming other people's energy and opinions, your own voice gets louder. Your ideas become clearer. You're no longer diluting yourself to fit into group dynamics. You're living authentically in all its quiet, uninterrupted beauty. And maybe that's the real strength, to be whole without needing the world to fill you up. But staying home doesn't always mean serenity. Sometimes it hides overwhelm. For many, the outside world became a place where they once tried to belong, but ended up feeling exhausted. There's a subtle burnout that comes from always saying yes, always showing up, always being available. You start resenting invitations even when they come from people you love. You start dreading weekends that used to excite you. And eventually some people decide to pull back, not out of hatred, but out of necessity. They realize they don't owe anyone their presence. They don't owe an explanation for needing rest. And they don't need to keep pretending they're fine just to fit in. That's one of the quiet truths of our time. We've confused activity with aliveness. We assume that to thrive, we must always be going. But real vitality doesn't require movement. Some of the most alive moments of your life, the ones that shift something inside you, will happen in stillness. No plans, no crowds, no noise, just you and the space to breathe. And maybe that's what those who love staying home understand best. They know that solitude is not loneliness, it's communion with yourself. Because when you stop filling every moment with distraction, you start hearing your own heartbeat again. You reconnect with the parts of you that got drowned out by obligations, your quiet dreams, your unspoken needs, your inner peace. And that's something sacred in today's world. It's not isolation, it's integration. Of course, it's not always easy. There are moments of doubt, of wondering if staying home makes you strange, if you're falling behind while everyone else is out living. But with time, you start noticing something beautiful. Your joy doesn't vanish when you're alone. It's still there, steady, like the glow of a candle in a dark room. And maybe that's what real peace looks like. Not the loud celebration of life online, but the quiet appreciation of life as it is. Some people say, you're wasting your life staying home. But the truth is, the moments that define you most rarely happen in crowded rooms. Your healing, your growth, your clarity, your small joys, they live in the spaces you create for yourself, not the ones you force yourself into. And maybe that's enough. When psychologists talk about self-actualization, they emphasize authenticity, living in alignment with your true nature. But in a world that rewards extroversion, that alignment is constantly challenged. You're told to be more social, more adventurous, more outgoing. So when someone chooses to stay home, it might be their way of staying true, of honoring the life that actually fits them instead of the one they're supposed to want. They don't need to conquer the world to feel accomplished. They don't need to fill every weekend to feel fulfilled. They live their life fully and quietly. And here's the paradox. Those who live quietly often feel life most deeply. They're not distracted by the noise of it. They notice subtleties others overlook. the way afternoon light fills a room, the comfort of a familiar blanket, the taste of tea made exactly right. They are present, and presence is the rarest gift in a world addicted to elsewhere. But sometimes that very presence makes them misunderstood. People might call them hermits, homebodies, even antisocial. Yet, if you look closer, their preference isn't emptiness, it's fullness. It's the calm that comes from no longer apologizing for what you need to feel whole. There's a quiet confidence that comes from not needing to be everywhere, just content where you are. And that's what people who love staying home understand best. They know that not every invitation deserves a yes, that some evenings are too precious to give away. Because once you leave, you lose the chance to just be, to exist without agenda, without performance, without destination. And maybe some moments are too valuable for that. So the next time you notice someone who always stays in, don't assume they're lonely. Maybe they're just living. Maybe they found peace in the gentle rhythm of home. The kind not dictated by calendars or obligations. Maybe they're the ones who've remembered what the rest of us forgot. That being home doesn't mean being stuck. That being quiet doesn't mean being empty. That sometimes the truest expression of freedom is choosing exactly where you want to be. Because in the end, we're not meant to be everywhere. We're meant to be somewhere that feels right. And the people who love staying home, they remind us of that every quiet, intentional, beautifully grounded day.